campaign national spokesperson Ron Nehring with me now. Ron, welcome back. Strategically, why did Senator Cruz spend time in New York?
Well, I think that's a great question because, it stands in contrast to what we've seen in some campaigns of the past where people would just say, well, in New York, that's just, a bunch of liberals there and, no need to go. But Senator Cruz has been determined from the very beginning to wage a 50-state campaign to earn the votes of Republicans in this primary contest from all 50 states. That's why we organized, Iowa for the beginning of the process, and California, New Jersey that voted at the end of the process, and New York being somewhere in between. And, Senator Cruz will be in the state repeatedly. He had a great event in upstate New York today, and then came back down, to New York City for another event. So we're working hard to earn the support of New Yorkers at every opportunity. We know that it's Donald Trump's home state. We know that he has that home state advantage, and we know that he's expected to do well.
But Ron, let me just interrupt you, if you don't mind, to just ask you.
Sure.
I mean, did the senator regret coming here? I mean, was that rougher than what he even anticipated?
Oh, come on. I mean, anytime a Republican candidate is going to go to the Bronx or go to anywhere in New York City, you're going to have to expect it's going to be a uniquely New York, experience. And that's fine. That's to be expected. But at the end of the day, there are many, many Republicans in New York City, even though it's an overwhelmingly Democratic city. And we're working hard to earn the support of those Republicans who will vote in the primary. Okay,
you mentioned that it is Donald Trump's home state. He has lost no time, obviously, in capitalizing. So here's a new video ad he posted on Instagram, and this hits your candidate, Senator Cruz, for that comment on New York values.
Everyone understands that the values in New York City focus around money and the media.
I saw something that no place on earth could have handled more beautifully, more humanely than New York.
So New York, you probably know that. New York values are American values. If Cruz is going to move forward, what does he have to do?
Well, first, I'm very gratified to see that Donald Trump has moved away from attacking Senator Cruz's wife and has moved back to attacking Senator Cruz directly. I suppose that's, an improvement and a strategic shift from, the disastrous decision that Donald Trump had made to attack family members. But in terms of New York, obviously Donald Trump is hiding, behind 9/11 and that terrible tragedy to the extent that he can change the subject matter away from his deep financial support for liberal Democratic politicians in New York City and in New York State who've supported raising taxes, who've supported job-killing regulations and the like. Donald Trump really doesn't want to talk about the big checks he's written to the New York State Democratic Party and various New York City liberal politicians. And so, of course, he's going to, come up with some type of distracting messaging. But we're going to continue to remind people of what he's done.
Okay, and what he's done, I mean, as Donald Trump said, hey, listen, when I was in business, i.e. not a professional politician, of course I wrote checks to both sides of the aisle. That's what most businessmen do.
Well, let's be real. Donald Trump is now trying to reinvent himself as some type of, principled, conservative who's going to put conservative ideas into action. No one who's a principled conservative at all is going to write big checks to a variety of New York City and New York State politicians at every opportunity and bankroll the Gang of Eight in Washington, D.C. Look, Donald Trump has been a liberal politician, or not politician, but he's been a liberal in New York City, and that's part of his explanation for why he's been so far to the left on a variety of issues. He's since tried to reinvent himself, and he's tried to rationalize his generous financial support for Democratic politicians all along. But we're going to hold him to account. We're going to continue to highlight the fact that while New Yorkers have been suffering under high taxes and job-killing regulations put into effect by liberal politicians in New York City and New York State, that Donald Trump has been bankrolling and providing financial support to those very same elected officials.
All right, Ron, I want to shift gears, if you don't mind, and just focus on the other side of the aisle, because a fight is going on there as well. Senator Sanders firing back about Hillary's comments, saying he is not qualified to be president.
I don't think that you are qualified if you get $15 million from Wall Street through your super PAC. I don't think you are qualified if you have voted for the disastrous war in Iraq.
So, Ron, which candidates, if it becomes Cruz as the nominee, would Senator Cruz rather face?
Boy, I wish we got a vote on this matter, but that's a really tough choice. Two things that really strike me. One is that Hillary Clinton was supposed to lock this nomination up on the Democratic side a long time ago, and the fact that she is being given a run for the money and that she is still having to fight for her own state of New York, well, adopted state of New York, which she represented in the Senate, shows just how weak of a candidate she is. She was supposed to win the nomination in 2008. Barack Obama took it away from her. Now she was supposed to have locked this up. Bernie Sanders is preventing her from being able to do that. So that's the first thing. Second thing, it says something about the Democratic Party and where they are right now. The fact that you have a self-proclaimed socialist, not just someone who has socialistic policies, but actually calls himself a socialist, in a strong position in raising millions and millions of dollars and giving Hillary Clinton a run for the money, shows that this is no longer the party of Harry Truman and John F. Kennedy or even Lyndon Johnson, but that the party has moved so far to the left. And I think that's going to have an impact on the general election dynamic, regardless of who that candidate happens to be that Senator Cruz goes up against as the Republican nominee, his opponent on the Democratic side.
So both Hillary and Bernie Sanders obviously going to duke it out in New York. As far as Senator Cruz and the next few states, New York included, how is he going to make his mark? Because there are some polls that show he's going to be third in the Northeast.
Well, let's take a look at that. First, let's take a look at the state of Maine, for example. Maine is as far in the Northeast as you possibly can get. Donald Trump fought hard there. Ted Cruz did as well, and Ted Cruz ultimately, came out on top. We know that when Senator Cruz engages and directly engages in the state and directly engages with Donald Trump, and we put our large volunteer organization into action, and we come in with messaging and talking about solutions, that our numbers go up, Donald Trump's numbers, go down. But this is a long ball game. This is a 9-inning game. We're at the bottom of the fifth right now, and there's many, many opportunities as we have that we have going forward, and we know that the game has changed a lot since Wisconsin. We know why. And one final thing. What we said would happen has happened, and that we said that as the race came down from 17 candidates down to just a handful and effectively a two-person race in terms of who could actually win the nomination, our numbers would go up and Donald Trump would hit a ceiling, and he's hit that ceiling.
All right, Ron, come back. There's going to be lots of changes, as you know, and a lot of people saying that maybe people don't support your candidate, but they are just going for him right now because they prefer him over Trump. But another day. Ron Nehring, thank you. Glad to have you here in the